Meditation in the recent times have gotten a lot of traction, and for all the right reasons too. Meditation actually does quite a few things. And meditation as a technique is based on introspection because it's the most fundamental way of looking inwards, what's inside of us, rather than focusing on what's outside of us.
Meditation has really helped me to change thoughts about myself, about things outside of me to a great extent. So what are the most fundamental benefits of meditation for people in their day-to-day lives? Hello everyone, welcome back to Take 20. I hope these topics are of use to you. I hope you're making small changes in your life and that are beneficial. So today's topic is meditation, something that has been hugely transformational in my life. But I have noticed that there is an overload of information on
Yeah.
meditation. Sometimes meditation is spiritual, sometimes it's for your health, sometimes it's, for mental health. But actually, it's a little bit of everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I would like to know what is the connection between neuroscience and meditation? What exactly is happening to my brain when I meditate?
Yeah. Meditation in the last recent times have gotten a lot of traction, and for all the right reasons too. And it's been extensively talked about in the podcast, and people have taken it to all the different dimensions that Yoga Sutras talk about it in a particular way. You can acquire powers, this can happen, that can happen, and all those things. I'm not saying those could be wrong, those could be right, but that somehow takes away what at the core basic of it meditation does to us. And it is much more than just a trend, it is a very trendy thing to meditate now. Meditation actually does quite a few things. We'll be talking about the most basic, the most fundamental, and the most beneficial things that are applicable to mostly all the people and all the audiences that are watching this. Our brain has a tendency to develop thought patterns. So let's just say I know some one who I do not feel to be a pleasant individual, and if they have done things in the past and all the other things, I'll make a particular thought pattern towards it. They said me this, they are not a good individual, and that. And the aftermath of that would be that I don't like being in the presence of that person. Now whatever that person does is going to make me feel a particular way about that person. So that is just a series of thought that the brain has established, and brain always defaults to that thought pattern that we have. And once that thought pattern is established, it is not very easy to change that thought pattern. So that is something called as neuroplasticity in a more technical term. But the brain also has the ability to change the way it thinks, form new thought patterns, form new behavioral patterns. That is what is called as a neuroplasticity, and that's what meditation helps with. So that is one big benefit that meditation has.
So, what a lot of preconceived notions can start right from childhood.
Yeah.
And when I asked you, is it possible to change years and years of conditioning?
Yeah.
You said that meditation can help with that.
Yeah.
Meditation can help change a thought that you use to define yourself.
Yes. So the stronger the thought pattern is, the more effort and time and patience is going to require to reverse that. But with meditation, it is definitely possible to alter that thought pattern, or even change that thought pattern, or transform it into a completely different thought pattern, which is in a positive light than the existing thought pattern which you have in a negative light. That is known as cognitive reframing in a more technical term. So yeah, meditation
Cognitive reframing.
reframing, yeah, where we take a thought and we think of the other side of that. Yes, this happened to me, but since this happened to me, I know this now. So you look at the positive side of it.
Okay. So, in the world that we live in, everything is external.
Yeah.
We hardly ever introspect.
Yeah.
So, what would you say about that, and how, and what is it, how is it harming us when And so much of our lives depend upon extraception.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so in today's world, there is an imbalance there. We always have an outlook that is outside of us, and we have a hard time looking inside of us, to a point that most of the people I meet are hardly introspective. And being introspective does a lot to our brain chemistry. Not being introspective allows us to not be self-aware. And if we are not self-aware, there is no self-acceptance. There is no self-acceptance, then there is no inception to growth. For growth to happen in life, and meditation as a technique is based on introspection, because it's the most fundamental way of looking inwards, what's inside of us, rather than focusing on what's outside of us.
And some people, to be honest, don't want to look within.
Yeah,
It's too much work, and
Yeah.
what's the point,
yeah,
right? So for those kind of people who think that it's a waste of time, I don't really care about what's going on inward, just let me fix my day-to-day problems that's
Yeah.
happening in the outside world, and I'd rather play a sport
yeah.
and then meditate.
Yeah.
So what would you tell those people?
Yeah, men sometimes have this thought process that mindfulness and meditation is more a touchy-feely kind of a prospect that, and it's not meant for them, which is not the case. Like I said, lack of introspection leads to many things, but it also leads to a rigid mindset. We see a lot of people who are not accepting of new things, who are not wanting to change, and they believe the way they have lived the life, or the information or the perception they have stumbled upon their life in the initial phase of life, that's the only right way to live about life, and it's very difficult for them to change. That is a hallmark of lack of introspection and the lack of the journey inwards that they can take. And meditation can be a good stepping point towards that.
So, what are the most fundamental benefits of meditation for people in their day-to-day lives?
If we have the ability to change the thought patterns, what we are really doing is we are getting away from the rigid mindset
Yeah.
that we have. We are able to challenge our own beliefs, because whatever the assumptions and beliefs that we have is basically just the information that we have stumbled upon in the earlier part of life. It's known as an anchor bias. So let's just say if I'm in an interview setting, I'm interviewing few people for a job, the first person whom I interview will always have a special place in my mind.
Okay.
And that person is always going to stand out, because that's the person I interviewed first. So there are many kinds of biases that we have. Anchor bias is the most preliminary kind of bias that we live with.
For example, what would be an anchor bias, say, from our childhood?
Biggest example that I can think of is, being in a patriarchal society. The gender roles. This is what guys do. This is what women do. Guys are not supposed to do this. Women are not supposed to do this. If a boy is crying, are you a girl? Why are you crying? When a boy listens to this, there is an inherent thought, boys do not cry. That blocks them from emotionally processing what they're going through, because crying is a part and parcel of that. And that, as they grow up, leads to emotional dysregulation. That's what leads to toxic masculinity.
Okay.
But they think not processing their emotion is the right thing, because they have anger bias towards the thought they were fed when they were child. So that is a rigid mindset, and nothing that you can tell them would make them realize otherwise. This is right, because this is what I think. This is what I've lived my life with. And they will find all the evidences, this is what that book says, this is what that religion says, this is what this, to just support
Justify.
the belief. Yeah, to justify the belief that they have. But if a person is more introspective, if they are ready to challenge their beliefs, if they're ready to challenge the assumptions that they have in life, then it is easier for them to get started on that journey and be able to change the thought process that
Find
they
that
have.
root
Yeah.
cause for where
Yeah.
and where that thought started in the first place, and question it.
Yeah. And it's completely because once you have lived that thought, it becomes a strong part of the personality and identity that you have. And it's not very comfortable to challenge because it's challenging your entire existence till now. But in order to do that, it is very important to have that journey inwards. And if somebody is in the practice of meditation throughout, that journey inwards becomes a lot easy.
So where does one start? Everyone wants to change something about their mind,
Yeah.
which is very difficult to do. So where does one start?
What I always recommend my clients, and it works for most of them, is to start with mindfulness first. And the easiest way to do is to solely focus on one sense that is there. So I would ask them to sit in a really crowded place or even a moderately crowded place. Just sit down, close your eyes, and try to analyze different sounds that you hear. Because once you are focusing your entire awareness towards one sense, it's also allowing you to take that journey inwards when you're analyzing things. And when you sit down and hear those sounds, you realize there were the sounds that were present, but you are not aware
Aware
of
of
that.
it.
Those were those small, minute sounds in the background,
So you start the process of analyzing.
analyzing, yeah.
Okay.
And once you cultivate that practice of taking that journey inwards and analyzing what your body is inputting through the senses, that can be a good step forward. And from that point, once you think you are good enough in the journey of mindfulness and you want to take that leap towards meditation, there are many tools that one can take, and most of them are known to us. Like when we sit, keep focusing on the breath.
How many minutes you would say you would ask people to start off with? Because I've heard this repeatedly that it's 14 minutes every day can be
Yeah.
life transforming
Yeah,
if you meditate for 14 minutes
yeah.
a day.
I would say initially not to keep any time limit to it. Even if you can do it for like 3-4 minutes, that's fine.
Right.
But eventually try to build.
Okay.
And when you sit down and focus on your breath, your thought is going to go.
Yes.
Because every day in our day-to-day life, like we discussed before, we are training ourselves to be distracted every day because of the phone we use, because of the lifestyle that we have. So since we are training our mind to be distracted all day throughout the day, the thought is going to go. Your mind is going to
Waver.
wander to places for sure. But when you get your mind back to your breath, that is where the value of meditation is. Because you're training your mind to get the focus back.
Ah.
So we can focus on the breath. Then we can use traditional use for meditation, like there are the beads that we use. Each bead reminds us, that we have to chant and get our focus back to
Back.
that chant. And there are meditation techniques where we focus on the candle, the light that the candle has. That can be a good place. You're focusing on the candle. While you're looking at the candle, the mind goes off and like, oh shit. And then you get it back.
Bring it back, yeah.
Yeah. And then like we discussed, the practicing of moving the awareness through the body, like we start from the leg, go slowly up. In between we lose path, oh, we are doing this.
Yeah.
And then come back up. So these are just tools to reach to a point where we can, without those tools, get that focus back. And I think that should be a gradual progression.
So once one starts with the basics, I'm going to ask you, what would be the ultimate goal, with the practice of meditation?
So all the paths that we take to meditation, all of them lead to one goal. That is, in psychology, it's known as non-dual realization. It's a very preachy concept, but it's a very heightened state of awareness that one reaches where one is able to disassociate from the sense of identity that we have. So according to Buddhist mythology, if I have a sense of identity, like if Alkesh exists, Alkesh is not me. It is just an anchor bias that I have.
I am Alkesh.
Yeah, because as soon as I'm aware, I've been told that Alkesh, this is your name. And when somebody addresses me, they're addressing me as Alkesh. So I believe I am Alkesh. That's not true. Alkesh is an identifier that people have to this body that I have. And I believe myself to be Alkesh. And let's just say if I deserve something and somebody has not given me that. So Alkesh deserved this, but he has not given me that. So Alkesh is angry. I am not angry at that point in time. Because I
But
have
your
that.
identity
Yeah.
makes you angry.
Yeah, but since my sense of being is so intertwined with the sense of identity that I have, I am angry at that point in time. This might sound like a really
Bizarre.
preachy, bizarre and preachy kind of concept, but
But I get you.
yeah, but that is the truth of it. So so what we are experiencing in life is at the end of sense of perception that we have, and our sense of perception is a manifestation of the sense of identity that we have. And my identity is I am Alkesh, I am a male, and I've lived my life as a male. Society has taught me how guys live, and I'm trying to live that life. If I were a girl in some other soul society, I would have lived my life like a woman in that society lives, because societal conditioning is that. So your identity and your sense of self are not two same things. So now the question arises: if I know this,
Dual realization.
yeah. So am I someone who has non-dual realization? No, because understanding and realization are
Non-dual realization.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So understanding and realization are two separate concepts. So for example, my sleep habits, let's just say, are not very good. I know my sleep habits are not good. People tell me, your sleep habits are not good. That's fine. The moment I wear a sleep tracking device and I see on my, oh shit, I'm just sleeping for 2 hours. Oh shit, I do not have deep sleep. That's a realization that I have. Another very good example would be, there are people who do not lead a healthy lifestyle and end up on a hospital bed, unfortunately, due to a cardiac arrest. And when they're in the hospital bed, they are like, God, save me now. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be healthy. I'm going to be fit. So what's the difference then and what's the difference now? They know what they're doing is not healthy, but now they have a realization of what they're doing is not
So they're two
healthy.
different things.
Yeah. So the ultimate goal of meditation would be to have this realization that your sense of self and your sense of identity is not the same. So right now when I'm talking about it, I have a certain degree of spiritual pride. Oh, Alkesh knows this. See how
Yes.
smart I am. I'm still talking about it, but from the lens of the perception that I live. Not everyone is able to reach to that path. And people who have taken that journey and reached to that path are very, very noble and highly celebrated personalities. Those have reached there. But the closer you are to that path, the more happier and content you are in life.
What's something that we both practice is neti neti,
Yeah.
which is whatever thought you get, you say, I am not the pain I feel.
Yeah.
I am not the anger I feel.
Yeah.
So and I've been practicing this for a while. So when I sit in meditation and I have these thoughts, I feel pain, or I am angry, or I am upset, and when I say I feel this, but I am not this.
Yeah.
I am not this. There is so much. By the end of my practice, there is a change, because I am not defined by these emotions I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So this practice has really, really helped me. And thanks to you for putting me on this practice of neti neti. And for me, meditation started off not being able to even sit for a minute. I had a racing mind, and that trickled on into all of my other activities, right? Or like my work is gives you a high rush, like a high adrenaline rush. Every scene, every shot, your cortisol levels go high because it's all about getting that shot right. Workout, lifting weights, everything is an instant gratification. Phone, instant gratification. And so I couldn't sit still. I couldn't sit by myself. I couldn't sit with myself.
Yeah.
And over the last 2 years, but specifically the last year, I have been able to, meditation has really, really helped me to change thoughts about myself, about things outside of me to a great extent. And initially, like I said, my dependency on external factors, on people, on things, on food, on anything that gives external what do you call it, gratification,
Yeah.
was what I depended upon.
Yeah.
But the major change that happened to me with meditation was that I began to look inward and had solutions to everything that I wanted from myself.
The question that would arise is, since we live in a material world,
Yeah.
would getting on that journey really help? And the answer to that is a resounding yes.
Yes.
Because let's just say if I'm triggered by something in life, like if somebody has pointed toward an insecurity I have, or if I'm feeling bad about a world events that is happening around me, if I'm disassociated even slightly from the sense of identity I have, it will not affect me as much, because now I have a clear distinguish between what my sense of self is and what I'm feeling is an aftermath of the perception that I have. So that way, we don't let the things affect us as much as they would affect us and lead us to a negative spiral. And that's also a thing that could lead to depression and all the other mental illnesses that we have. We feel anxiety a lot less because there is always this thought at the back of my mind that this is everything that is happening, that is being lived out of a perception at this point in time. And most of the thoughts that I'm getting right now are not real because the perception that I'm living, that is not real.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I know it might not be easily understandable,
Yeah.
but it is the final destination, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. On good days, I really can feel the amazing feeling of it's better than pizza, donuts. Like imagine whatever you think is
Yeah.
the best feeling, it's better than all of those.
Yeah. Himank mentioned that, whenever he does activities, like, he loves playing tennis and doing stuff, he feels quite centered during that point in time. He gives him that peace and joy. So he asked me, is it also what meditation is?
Oh, did he ask you, is it a meditative state as well?
Yeah.
Is it equal to meditation?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a meditative state, but it's not equal to meditation.
Okay.
Because in terms of psychology, we call it as a flow state. So flow state is something you are doing when there is something interesting that you're doing that you like, and there is just enough challenge to keep you engaged. So when you are in that moment, it's just you and that thing. There is nothing else. Everything else blocks, and there is sometimes you are just doing something, and even if you feel that not a lot of time has passed, you look at the watch, it's already an hour, but you
Right.
didn't feel like it's an hour. So that is what a flow state is. Now, how it correlates to a meditative state is that when you're in a flow state, all the thoughts regarding your sense of identity go away. So right now, when I'm sitting and talking to you, there's a constant thought in mind, oh, today night I have to catch a flight back.
Okay.
Oh, I am not feeling well, I have to take my medications. Oh, it's too late. Oh, I'm too tired. So all these things are occupying a certain bandwidth
Right.
in my head. For a non-dual realized individual, like who are like the most like celebrated people out there, these thoughts do not exist because they are not intertwined. That's a sense of self is not intertwined with the sense of identity that we have. The flow state does a similar thing. Your entire awareness is occupied in that moment, in the activity that you're doing
Right.
at that point in time. And your sense of identity ceases to exist temporarily in that point in time. So even though that's not a meditative practice, that's still a meditative state.
Okay.
And being in that kind of state also does good things to your brain, where you disassociate yourself from all the perceptions you have, all the self-limiting beliefs that you have about yourself. So if there are activities that you enjoy doing and you lose track of time and you're completely immersed in those kind of things, for somebody it's acting, for somebody it's sport, for somebody it's learning a new skill.
Cooking, dancing. Yeah.
So in all means pursue that, because it's doing a lot of good to you, a lot of good to your brain, and a lot of good to your mental and emotional health at the same time.
Thank you, Alkesh. That was a wonderful episode on meditation. I hope you guys start your practice of meditation, and do let us know in the comments about what you think about this episode and also your experience with meditation. Thank you.